Good afternoon. If you're on the East Coast or here in the central USA, I'm in Arkansas, so it is straight up 12 noon. And good morning to you, Mountain Standard Time and Pacific folks. So those of you who do not know me, I am Kalina Raboin. I have a PhD in natural medicine. Spent many years practicing as a registered nurse. I consider myself kind of retired from that now. And I specialize in bioenergetics and also am a personal trainer as well. So kind of wear many hats, but love educating, because that's truly what it's all about. Knowledge is power. And so that is what I am here to share with you guys today is maybe some knowledge that you don't currently hold or maybe just don't fully understand. So hopefully you'll have some aha moments. But first and foremost, I just want to let you guys know that anything that we say or post within this group is for educational and informational purposes only. It is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease or medical condition. The information shared is absolutely not a substitute for personalized medical advice, evaluation, or treatment from a qualified licensed medical healthcare professional. And frequent products that we are going to discuss at some point in this talk are only in the context of supporting your overall wellness, normal body function, and an overall healthy lifestyle. So now that we've got that out of the way, let's talk about cortisol. So cortisol is not the enemy, okay? It is really just a mistimed cortisol rhythm. And so I really want to talk to you about something that so many people are living with, but they don't even realize that there is an actual physiological reason behind that. That saying that goes, why do I feel wired, but I'm still tired? You probably hear that a lot. And what that means is that you are feeling absolutely exhausted, but at the same time, you literally can't shut your brain down. Okay. You maybe finally sit down at night and your body just feels completely depleted. Like, I can't do anything else. But yet you're right, you're like your mind is just racing. It's just constantly going. You wake up in the morning and you're completely tired, but you push through the day. Maybe you have that afternoon crash, and then you somehow just get that second wind at night. And so that is kind of what we're referring to when people say, I feel wired, like my body can't stop, but yet I'm so tired. And so when we hear the word cortisol, we usually, a lot of people just kind of jump to the conclusion of like, oh my goodness, that is bad. Cortisol is the stress hormone. We need less of it. But cortisol in and of itself is not bad. I mean, it's necessary for life. It helps our body to regulate energy. Key in on that word, energy. Without energy, we have no life. So when we start talking about the energetics later, it's not woo woo, it's science, it's part of creation. So cortisol helps regulate energy, helps regulate our blood sugar, inflammation, blood pressure, that wakefulness feeling that we should have in the morning. And then our ability to be able to respond to stress in a supportive and not just a reactive manner. And so that's like, the issue is not simply that we have cortisol. The issue is when that cortisol cycle loses its rhythm. Okay. So when our cortisol is too high at the wrong time, or it's too low when we need it to actually be higher, or that daily curve that we should, see becomes flattened and dysregulated, our whole body can feel completely out of sync. Okay. So I want to talk about the anatomy and physiology of the cortisol cycle. So let's start with what is supposed to happen in the body. Okay. This is what's actually supposed to happen. So your cortisol is made by the adrenal glands. Okay, your adrenal glands actually sit right on top of the kidneys. But when our adrenal glands, they're not acting alone. They are part of a communication network that is also called the HPA axis. You're like, what in the world is that? Okay, I'm gonna break it down for you. H stands for the hypothalamus, which is actually located in the brain. The P stands for the pituitary gland, and A stands for the adrenal glands. So when your body perceives a stressor, whether that's an internal stressor or an external stressor, so whether that stressor is physical, emotional, inflammatory, environmental, or even just perceived by the brain as a threat, that hypothalamus is going to release CRH. Okay, so that is the corticotropin releasing hormone. And that signals the pituitary. So the hypothalamus is releasing this hormone that is then signaling to the pituitary to release ACTH, okay, which that is the adrenocorticotropic hormone. And so that ACTH hormone then tells the adrenal glands to release cortisol. Okay, this is not a bad system. This is the way God created us. This is a protective system. So cortisol helps you mobilize fuel, okay? It helps release glucose into the bloodstream. It helps, it supports your blood pressure. It changes immune activity within the body so that in the short term, your body can respond to whatever threat or demand is immediately right in front of you. So the body was designed to do this beautifully, like this normal daily cortisol rhythm. And cortisol also follows a very specific circadian rhythm. So are you seeing like the theme here of like energy and the rhythm that different parts of our body should be in tune to? That cortisol rhythm. We should have this beautiful cortisol rhythm that actually follows a very specific circadian rhythm. So in a healthy rhythm, cortisol begins rising in the early morning hours. That is when you're supposed to feel like it's refreshed, it's time to wake up. That cortisol is going to peak around that waking time, helping your body to feel alert and like ready for the day. And then as the day goes on, it's gradually going to decline through the afternoon. And it should be at its lowest point at night. Okay. And the reason being is because that's then going to allow melatonin to rise and the body to move into that rest, repair, and sleep, which is actually correlating with your nervous system. So ideally, we want our cortisol to be higher in the morning and lower in the evening. So if you've ever had your cortisol checked, that's going to, an accurate checking of your cortisol is that they are going to check those levels both in the morning and in the evening. So you don't get a true picture unless you are actually checking both times during the day. So that is what we call a healthy curve. That is what helps you feel awake when it's time to be awake and sleepy when it's time to go to sleep at night. But again, chronic stress, poor sleep that so many individuals have, which is absolutely disrupting that circadian rhythm, the inflammatory load that we, bear, and lifestyle strain can actually start to distort that natural rhythm that our body should be following. So instead of a strong, healthy morning rise of cortisol and that gentle decline through the day, we see things like literally a flattened curve, inadequate morning energy, cortisol like elevating later in the day, and then an absolutely poor shutdown signal at night. Okay, so this is where you hear people, if you're not one of them, that I'm tired all day, then I'm awake at night. Okay, so now let's really look at what does that wired but tired actually mean? Like, what's really happening that is making me feel wired, but still at the same time absolutely exhausted? When someone feels wired but tired, it does not indicate that they are lazy. It does not mean that they just need better discipline, because so often it is an indicator that the nervous system is struggling to move smoothly, to like transition from that activation into restoration. Okay. Our body has two major branches of the autonomic, not automatic, but the autonomic nervous system. Okay. The sympathetic nervous system can often be it's described as fight or flight. Okay, that's the sympathetic nervous system. The parasympathetic nervous system, which supports the rest, the digestion, the repair and recovery of our body, those are the two parts of the nervous system. So we have the sympathetic fight or flight, parasympathetic rest and digest. So in a healthy rhythm, a healthy pattern, we should be able to mobilize energy when we need it and then settle back down. But again, with chronic stress, sleep disruption from all the EMFs that are being emitted everywhere, inflammation. We've got inflammation because of the exposures and all the things going on, and overexposure to stimulating inputs. Okay, the body can get stuck in a state of hyperarousal. Okay, so what does that mean? Well, your body, your nervous system is staying in fight or flight. So your sympathetic nervous system is in overdrive. So you may feel fatigued because your tissues are tired and your reserves are strained and your sleep is not actually restorative, but your nervous system is still acting like it needs to stay alert. It's on guard. Remember, it's in survival mode. It's there to protect you. And that's that cruel paradox of wired but tired. Okay. Your body is absolutely exhausted, but the system, your system, the mechanism system, the protective system does not feel safe enough to fully rest. So when you look at research in insomnia and sleep loss, it shows associations with that higher cortisol activity. And so that altered stress system signaling, remember we were talking about that HPA axis. So there's an altered stress system signaling. Those things are not signaling correctly. We have an increased physiological arousal. So in other words, it's not just in your head. There is real neuroendocrine physiology behind that specific experience and feeling. So what are the things that are coming to play in here that are actually causing the cortisol rhythm to become completely dysregulated? And the most obvious one is chronic stress. Okay. And I don't mean like trauma or major life events, because absolutely those matter. Okay. But I'm more talking about the accumulation of just the daily load. Okay. So we can think of, like, look at the state of the world right now. Okay. That can create, a lot of stress for individuals, whether it's, the financial strain right now. Like, I don't know if you've gone to get gas today, but my goodness. Um, Maybe you're a caregiver for an elderly parent, or you're a mom and you're you're taking care of everything. You're always like having to be disposable. You're always having to be available to others, whether it's at work, at home, whatever it may be. As my husband says, the windows to the computer are like always open. That's kind of like a common thing that you see out there when men and women are like discussing the differences. It is more prevalent in women. We constantly have all these mental tabs open. Maybe it's you're in conflict with yourself or conflict with others, grief, chronic worry, feeling behind before your day even starts. And so our brain is not only responding to it's not just responding to a tiger chasing you, it's responding to perceived threat, that uncertainty, the pressure, the lack of recovery that your body could be experiencing. When that stress response is activated over and over and over again, your body loses that ability to have its crispness, not Christmas, of its normal cortisol rhythm. And so, that chronic stress, that's the first thing. Okay. Now let's talk about the poor sleep and that circadian disruption. Okay. Sleep. We talk about this all the time and how so many things regarding our health can improve if we sleep more and we follow that circadian rhythm. Because, see, sleep is one of the most powerful regulators of that HPA axis. Deep sleep helps inhibit stress system activation. Okay. So when we repeatedly are losing sleep, we're going to bed late, we've got the blue lights in front of us, we're waking up frequently during the night, or we just live in a state of total circadian mismatch, meaning our circadian rhythm, we are not following the natural God-given created circadian rhythm. A little offshoot on this, I worked nights as an RN for about 3 years. I guarantee you, physiologically, I aged over 10 years in that 3 year span because I was audit of what our circadian rhythm should be. And so when we live in that state of circadian mismatch, that cortisol signaling is absolutely disrupted. So think about it. Think about your life and your sleep and how well you sleep and what all is going on. And are you going to bed early? Like, are you following more of the going to bed as the sun's going down and getting up as the sun's coming up? Because that's what the natural rhythm of the body should follow. Okay. So studies show that when our sleep is restricted, our cortisol is going to rise later in the day, especially in the afternoon and evening hours. So clinically, that lines up with people saying, I'm exhausted during the day, but then I get my second wind and I'm more alert at night when actually you should be winding down. Okay. That is what so many people experience. So sleep's number two. Three, light at the wrong time. I kind of mentioned that. This is where the world around us begins to matter in ways that people really don't think about. Our body uses light as a timing signal. Our body perceives light. Our eyes are taking in that frequency. Our body is feeling the frequency of the light. So morning light helps anchor that circadian rhythm. But bright artificial light, so all these fluorescent lights, LED lights, the lights in the house, the overhead light, and screens. These screens late at night can send our brain it sends our brain the wrong message at the wrong time. So light exposure at night is actually suppressing that melatonin and altering the circadian signaling. You guys, this is all energetically related. This is all, everything about this is frequency based. And because cortisol and melatonin are part of that day night rhythm, when we confuse the brain's light cues, that signaling, we're also confusing the body's hormonal timing too. Because remember, cortisol is a hormone. So no, the nervous system is not only responding to like what we are thinking and perceiving, it is responding to the environmental signals around us. That brings us to number 4. Noise, overstimulation, and the invisible burden of modern life. Okay. The unseen. I talk about that all the time. And so that is a huge piece that we really underestimate. And that's that environmental stimulation. So that noise exposure, especially chronic or unpredictable noise, that has actually been studied for its relationship with the stress hormone activation. So like your conscious mind may get used to the sound of traffic, alerts, machines, like especially if you're a nurse and you're in a hospital and you hear all the machines beeping and this and that going on and that constant like background chaos. But even though you know that it's like nothing bad, our body can still interpret those constant inputs as stress. And so there's something to be said about being still. That is so biblically driven too, to just like be still and to just, sit in the moments, because while, our body is just constantly having to interpret all of these things coming at it, again, it's like some of the things that are so beneficial to the body and can provide so much support and healing are not bought. You know, having a better sleep cycle, you changing that for yourself, going out in the natural light, being still in moments. Those are all things that don't cost anything, that are going to help support your body and to help regulate that cortisol. Number 5. So, blood sugar swings. Okay, under fueling, so not eating enough or the correct things at the correct time, and over restriction. So, cortisol is involved in blood sugar regulation absolutely directly. So, when your blood sugar drops too low, so maybe you've gone like too long in between eating, the body can release a counter regulatory hormone, okay? So, including cortisol, to help bring the glucose back up. So that does not mean that every blood sugar fluctuation is a crisis, but it does mean that if you're constantly skipping meals, or you're severely under eating, or you're living on caffeine, or you're aggressively dieting, that can become another stress signal to the body. And research has shown that acute fasting and significant caloric restrictions can raise your cortisol. And that matters because so many people are trying to heal a stressed body by stressing it even harder. I talk about this all the time with clients because I have so many clients that come in and they're just adamant that intermittent fasting is the only thing that works for them. And I will say, when you look at clinical studies for women, all of the studies that show so much benefit about intermittent fasting are done on men. It's actually been proven that for women, it increases the cortisol levels. So I'll leave that there. Um, Overtraining without enough recovery. Okay. I am a huge, huge advocate of exercise. Exercise is healthy. It's the most under-prescribed therapeutic modality out there. Movement is essential, but training can still be a stressor to the body. And it is a beneficial stressor when the body has the resources to adapt. So if you're training super, super hard, combined with very poor sleep, you're under fueling your body. So you're not giving it the proper nutrients, and you're already carrying a high mental load. Your body can then begin to experience exercise not as a strengthening input, but as something that is putting more demand on it that it cannot adequately recover from. And so I am in no way insinuating to stop moving. It means we have to respect our body's relationship between stress, recovery, and the ability to adapt. Okay. And I'm really talking about, like, if you have problems sleeping, you're under fueling, you're super stressed, like all the things, I will be the first to say HIIT workouts are not for you. Like, don't do it. Number 7, inflammation and immune signaling. So this is one more important piece. The immune system and our cortisol system, they talk to each other constantly. Okay. Again, that energetic component. There is an energetic process going on, signaling all the time, communication. So inflammatory cytokines can stimulate that HPA axis, okay, while cortisol is helping regulate the inflammatory signaling. So this is part of why that chronic inflammatory burden, poor gut health, ongoing immune activation, and just that overall physiological stress can make your whole entire body systems feel more reactive. Okay. Your body is not all compartmentalized and each little system staying in its own little lane and it's, locked up in its own little compartment. No, that's not how it works. Your nervous system, your endocrine system, your immune system, and cellular energy systems, they are all constantly having a conversation. Okay. Constantly. Remember, it's the unseen. So, how does that all come into play? The unseen world and the cortisol cycle. Okay, this is where we're gonna kind of zoom out here for a second. We live in a world that has taught us, has ingrained us to only respect what we can see. But the truth of the matter is, your body is responding every single second to signals that are not always visible to the naked eye, but they are measurable. You just can't see them. Light wavelengths affect the circadian rhythms. Sound frequencies, we talked about noise, affect stress signaling. Hormones, electrical impulses, neurotransmitters, and cellular communication, they're all happening beneath our visible awareness. Yet those very things shape how you feel every single day. So when it comes specifically to electromagnetic exposures and cortisol, human research is still evolving and not fully consistent. So you can pretty much find anything either which direction. But there are studies that suggest physiological effects, while other controlled human studies don't show a clear cortisol response. So I would never overstate that. But when you look at the broad principle here, it's very sound. It's very consistent. Your body is responsive to environmental signaling, including inputs that we do not consciously perceive. Okay, so the strongest established example of this for this cortisol cycle or circadian light exposure, sensory overload, noise, and chronic stress signaling. Those are the strongest established examples that affect our cortisol cycle. They're studied, they're proven. Okay, and all of those, when you look at it, are things that are not seen. Okay, so this is where frequency fits into this beautifully. This biochemical and bioenergetic support. Now, frequency is not just looking at the body from one angle. And we are in no way saying that one product or a product fixes cortisol. We're not saying that. We are not saying a product treats a cortisol disorder. That would be totally inappropriate, because what it does is absolutely incredible for the body. What we can say is that we're talking about supporting a healthier stress response and supporting a body that is then better equipped to find rhythm again. Think back to all those things that I said, all those different rhythms that need support because they become out of balance. That is scientific. We have all these different rhythms going on in our body. So we need to think about the body on more than one level. You've got your foundational nutrition, that cellular support, the nervous system support, supporting the daily energetic rhythm of the body, and then just the energetic environment of your body itself. Remember, without energy, you are not alive. And so Frequence brings together that biochemical support and the harmonic frequency technology that is embedded into the supplements. So Frequence products, if you are new here, they are tuned with 11 harmonic frequencies that have been selected because of how they resonate with the body's natural energy fields. Remember, harmonic frequencies are found in nature, and our body is very similar to those components in nature. The brain waves, certain brain waves actually resonate at the same as the Earth's rhythm. It is that's Schumann's resonance. So when we this is far broader, more broad than supporting the body with nutrition. Okay. So we're describing that we are supporting the body by bringing a sense of balance, which is coherence and energetic harmony, so that the cells, so all of that communication can actually fall back into rhythm again, while the ingredients of the frequency products are supporting the physical component of the body. Okay, so let's look at source first. So when your body is undergoing stress, what matters more than anything, and that's the foundational support. This is why this is my favorite product, because it is a foundation. It is providing trace minerals, those key minerals, including like magnesium, potassium, calcium, zinc. um, Fulvic acid contains those trace minerals at the ratio that the human body needs those. So, Source is a foundation product. Minerals are essential and involved in nerve signaling. Okay? Signals. Minerals are essential. Well, our food is mineral depleted. Our soil is mineral depleted. So, how are we going to give the body the minerals that it needs? Minerals are essential for our muscles to function. So when we're talking about that recovery and not wanting to stress our physical body further, because more stress to the body from a physical standpoint of exercise can actually further impact that cortisol cycle. Minerals are essential for muscle function. Minerals are essential for that hydration balance. I can drink water all day long, but it's not truly hydrating me. You got to have the minerals if you want to be truly hydrated. And then the hundreds of enzymatic metabolic processes that need to occur in the body. Well, guess what? You got to have minerals for those. Magnesium, in particular, has been widely studied in the relationship to stress susceptibility and your nervous system function. Well, that's a mineral found in Source. So when we talk about that cortisol cycle, Source is not a cortisol lowering product. No, it is a terrain supporting foundational product. It helps support the nutritional foundation that a stressed body depends on and needs. Okay. Now, you're like, okay, I need something to support myself in the now. I need something to feel better now. I need that morning mental energy. I need to help support the daily rhythm of my body. Well, that's where Rise comes in. Okay. Rise contains that blend of 7 organic mushrooms, the B vitamins, a nootropic blend, and in the standard version, not the non-caffeine version, but in the standard version, we've got 100 milligrams of caffeine from organic green coffee bean extract. This is formulated for morning use. I know some individuals will drink it in the afternoon, but I am an educator of taking that in the morning to support that mental clarity, that focus, and that brain health, and to just truly kind of the timing matters here in this conversation, especially when we are talking about that cortisol rhythm, because we don't want to stimulate ourselves chaotically all day long. That's why, I would love to just drink coffee. I mean, we have a coffee shop. I would love to drink coffee all day long. I love my Rise. Like, sometimes you just want something different to drink, but you really don't want to introduce that like any later than 12, because you want to do the things that are going to support appropriate daytime energy. Because remember, you want your cortisol to be higher in the morning and then to be lower in the afternoon. and in the evening. We want to really honor our body's natural rhythm of what it's supposed to follow. So I describe Rise as supporting that more like that clearer, more intentional daytime energy rather than, the frantic, jagged, I'm in survival mode energy that most people are literally trying to operate on. Like they're going for the monster drinks, the Celsius, the Lonnies all day long. But Rise, especially if taken in the morning, I believe will help further support you in finding the rhythm that the body should fall into. Because so often we're in that fight or flight. We're just trying to survive through the day. And, if you're in that afternoon slump, the first thing that you want to grab is an energy drink or a coffee. But that's just further keeping us in that wrong cycle. So this is why timing matters. This is why I am a firm advocate of Rise in the morning, especially in like breakfast time, like earlier in the day, not like mid morning or late morning or close to lunch. Like, let's do the things to support that alertness, that wakeful feeling earlier in the morning, because that's just going to help the body more be in a rhythm that is what the cortisol rhythm should be. More alert in the morning, and then as your day goes on, it should be getting lower. Okay, then let's talk reverse. I actually don't have that bottle here because I don't take it like at different times of the day. It's my nighttime thing, so it's at home. So when our body lives in that chronic stress, we have to think about the long term, the downstream effects, the domino effect at a cellular level. Okay, so the domino effect downstream, long term, what is that cortisol disrupted cycle doing to our body in the long term? Well, it's causing oxidative stress. It is increasing the inflammatory burden. It is increasing the energy demand on the body. And it is causing our body to constantly be in need of repair. So, this is why reverse, because it was designed to support cellular health, to help support healthy aging pathways, to provide that antioxidant protection, and to help further stimulate cellular energy. So those key ingredients like AC11, NMNH, the diazeplavin, um, the L-ergothioneine, all of those are helping to support cellular health, how the body ages, repair. It is helping your body to repair internally, and then that is shown externally. So again, not saying reverse is going to regulate your cortisol, but it belongs in this conversation because a body trying to recover from chronic stress needs support, not just now in the moment, but at the level of cellular resilience, repair conversation, and that long-term vitality. Okay. So if you have been feeling wired but tired, I really want you to hear this. Your body is not betraying you. Your body is actually communicating. It is communicating to you energetically. Like, that is symptoms are messages, you guys. It may be telling you that your stress response has been asked to carry way too much for too long. It may be telling you that your sleep rhythm is completely off. Your nervous system has forgotten how to fully settle down and to actually rest and repair. Your environment is constantly stimulating you, or your body is running on a foundation that, quite frankly, needs more support because it has none. So, it's not about shaming our body, but we have to answer the messages sometime, and we have to answer by supporting it, by supporting our body's natural rhythm. supporting our sleep, supporting our body with minerals, supporting our cellular health, supporting the body biochemically and bioenergetically. And that is what I truly believe Frequence does so beautifully is it reminds us you are not just chemistry. You're not just made up of molecules and enzymes and amino acids. No, your body is carrying energy or you would not have life. We are rhythm. And our body is actively communicating. And so when we begin supporting the body from that whole body person perspective, we give it a better environment to actually return to balance on so many different levels. So I hope that gives you a better understanding of what the cortisol cycle is, how it impacts you, and steps that you can take to start supporting that better. So I hope you guys have a beautiful afternoon, and we'll see you next time.